Greetings and welcome back to the supporter stream. We're gonna roll everybody over and unmute everybody. How's it going, everybody?
Doing good.
All right. I think we're gonna, before we forget, we're gonna jump right into our topic, and then Sabu has a malware on a server story to tell us, I guess.
Yeah.
Do that at the end. Of course, this camera's frozen, so I'll go over to Ivan. He looks like he's awake. I don't know. Actually, I have this horrible internet connection. I got like 30 down and 30 up or something. I don't know. Welcome to California, right? It's actually a good place to stream, and that's like amazing. Like I'm over here van lifing in this the parking lot for where my stepfather lives here, and so it's kind of like a retirement community. And I wake up in the morning, construction crews came in, they put a porta potty right next to the van. I'm like, beautiful. It's a weird day. All right, but we're going to go ahead and get on into our topic today. We wanted to talk about replacing Google services with other more privacy respecting topics. And so really for the talking point on this, I just wanted to use the TechSpot article. They just released an article which was pretty good. There are some huge gaps in their knowledge, apparently, because they're a normie tech company, a tech journalist company. So they're not they don't dig into this kind of stuff. But hey, they're following the trendy stuff. People like privacy, and so whatever. But the article does have some good ideas, and it has a few bad ideas, and I just figured we'd just go through the list and talk about the various options they do, and then what have we used and what other alternatives might be out there and things like that. So we'll go ahead and get over here. Of course, speaking of alt tech and privacy respecting things, we are also co-streaming to Odyssey, Rumble, Twitch, and D Live, so you can watch the show a variety of different places. If you're like, I only come to YouTube to watch Switch to Linux, you can watch me in other places too, just so you know. But with that, let's go ahead and dive on in. Now, they said this alternatives to Google. I label it more as alternatives to big data, because Google's not the only one we need to be aware of. We also need to be aware of Meta. We need to be aware of Microsoft. We need to be aware of anybody that's collecting and harvesting and storing and buying and selling and trading our data. And the first part is small steps to restoring your privacy. The idea here behind this
Microsoft is...
Yeah, go ahead.
Microsoft is very dangerous right now as far as data collection and harvesting.
Yep.
This Windows Copilot is going to be really, really tempting for people like me and me to use, but I have a rule that I give it no PII. It gets 0, and I'm very selective. I would be very selective in how I use it or what I do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be a problem.
Yep.
The Copilot in the new Windows 12, they've already got the pre-alpha up and going, and it's in Windows 11. So it's
fun.
Yeah.
So
Microsoft's dangerous still.
And really, we don't have to replace everything, but if you can look at this list and go, I think I could probably move in this direction instead of that direction. It might be a good direction to go. So, how many times can I say direction in one sentence? I don't know.
I've replaced most everything.
It starts with search alternatives, and pretty much, and they have a note down here with the exception of Mojik. All the private search engines above are technically meta search engines, since their results are from other search engines such as Bing or Google. And this is really where at the very first front of the article, they completely demonstrate their own ignorance of the market they're trying to talk about. We basically have a whole lot of things which are all just collecting data from the big companies, and most of these don't necessarily do as much as other groups do at preventing that data from coming out. In fact, you'll notice probably the best of the privacy-focused search engines is Startpage. It's completely missing from this list.
I noticed that too.
Brave Search is completely missing from this page. In fact, the only one of these I would even
mention later in the article.
Brave Browser is, I believe, but not Brave Search Engine. And so I wouldn't even, if I'm going to do a search on the internet, I don't even think about the possibility of any of these existing except DuckDuckGo. So on the positive end, the article is giving us more things to look into, which is good. Okay, so maybe we need to take more effort to do Swiss cows or Quant. And, you can self-host a Xerox instance as well. But the search engines I use on a daily basis, Brave and StartPage, are not on this list, and those are also good alternatives. So look into these, but also add those. There's Muon says no pre-search on the engine list either. Yep. So there you have it. Anything else about the search engine alternatives? Does anybody use any of these? And what are your basic experiences?
Well, I happen to use, I for a while, for the longest time in the past, it was Google for the longest time. But I learned about DuckDuckGo in particular, and I happen to like it. And I used it for probably a couple of years, but then I moved on to StartPage, just because I saw it was even less connected with big data and things of that sort. And I've toyed around a little bit with Xerox through Disroot because they're an online services provider, much like Google and stuff like that. But there's no big data connections anywhere.
Yep.
And I've toyed with Xerox a little bit, and I do like it a lot. And or Xerox MG, as Disroot puts it on their installation. And my experience, I've stayed with StartPage because it performs very, very well, and I do trust it very, very well. I'm not in any particular connection stability issues where I am. I am on Comcast, but I am on a VPN. Thank goodness for that. And in fact, this connection is through the VPN.
Okay.
But I happen to like StartPage. It works very well, and it avoids all that big data garbage. And only once in a remote blue moon does it come up and tell me, "Oh, hey, can you just re-verify this thing here with the CAPTCHA?" And I'm like, yeah, whatever, boom, boom. And I'm good for, I don't know how long. It could be upwards of like 2 to 6 months.
That's one of the things that turns me off about StartPage. In fact, that's why StartPage is not the default on my laptops, where I might need to connect to my VPN, because I find if StartPage is going to be like, we're a privacy search engine, why are you caring what the IP is? There's some disconnect. There's a few odd disconnects with StartPage that we have to wrap our heads around. First and foremost, how can they be like, we are a privacy-focused search engine and have a partnership with System1, who has the way worse data collection and privacy violations than Google and Microsoft combined? There's a few things that don't make sense, but I do like them. But they always flag that thing up on my personal VPN, and I am not going to sit there and jump through their hoops and be like, well, okay, this is me. This is not spam. No. Piss off. I am going to use my VPN, and if you want to give me a pop-up to verify I'm a human, screw you. I'm going to use DuckDuckGo. There's a reason DuckDuckGo is used with Tor, because they don't care what your IP address is. So interesting. Some things to think about. That's my personal thought. But I do use StartPage on things where I'm not going to be connecting with my personal VPN, though, because they generally don't flag me for that stuff. So
yeah, I don't know of really a truly good option for search engines, because, like you said, with System1 partnership with StartPage, and then DuckDuckGo is messing with results and choosing what they think.
Yeah, if you want the dirty dirt on DuckDuckGo, the first problem is all their infrastructure is run by Amazon, and that raises red flags for some people. The other big problem is all of their results are from Bing, but in order to work with Bing, they had to create backdoor deals. And so while they were announcing for a long, long time, we don't track anything, they were required by their contract to keep the Bing trackers on. So Microsoft was tracking everybody by their IP addresses who was using DuckDuckGo, despite claiming that they didn't do anything because of the backdoor deals they made. Now, as soon as that was disclosed and found out, then, we quietly turned that off. But there's some dirt on that. The only one that seems to be truly independent and allegedly not keeping anything is Brave. The problem is I just don't like Brave search results. I have it as default. I think it's useful and I think it's fine for some basic use. But when I'm using on the computers that Brave is the default, I'm having to jump over to Start Page or other search engines periodically because I can't get good results. Now, some of the lack of good results is becoming universal because of AI, but that's actually making search engine results way worse. But I think if you're looking for a true independent one, Brave might be your only real option. DuckDuckGo uses Bing, StartPage uses Google. They just have ways of obfuscating your IP addresses. Salbo, you use Google, right?
Yeah, I use as a search engine. I use Google. It's simply because it gives me the best search results, and just by adding a special thingy at the end of the URL string, I get 50 hits per page instead of the default 10 or. I think DuckDuckGo, the maximum you can configure is 20. I need 50.
Do you take any proactive steps to protect about privacy, things like that?
Yeah, the steps that I do is, I mentioned this before, but I use NoScript, and it's configured to not allow any JavaScript anywhere. And then I manually allow hosts that it needs in order to function, and only the bare minimum that I need in order for a site to work. So, yeah.
Okay. So there you go. There's search engines. Anything else on search engines before we move on? All right. Gmail alternatives. I host my own email on cPanels and a few other places, but they're giving you here the reason you want to be concerned about it. Gmail has three primary things. Your inbox is used as a data collection tool. They track your purchasing history using receipts in your inbox. Rather than seeing just emails, your email is also used for ads and marketing, and contents of your inbox are being shared with Google and other random third parties. Let's not to mention, as we covered on the weekly news roundup last week, Google's new partnership with PayPal, allowing you to integrate your Gmail with PayPal, and now PayPal can now also scour your email addresses looking for receipts and tracking numbers so they can give you pop-up notifications. So they've given you some alternatives here. This was a more respectable list and a bigger list. Start Mail. This is from Start Page, and that's pretty good. Tutuano is good. Proton Mail is pretty good. Other ones I have limited knowledge or experience with, but there are a few other ones: MailFence, Mailbox.org, Postio, Runbox, Countermail, CTemplar.
I've used Tutanota and Proton Mail in the past. Both are outstanding. If you really want like a simple, like Mac-like experience, like kind of like Apple Mail, but a little more fleshed out, Tutanota is great. Proton is hard to beat, for anybody, power user, newbie alike. Really, Tutanota can be used for a power user too. Mm-hmm. They've added the ability to have subfolders and stuff, which was sorely needed. Recently, they didn't always have that to where I still subscribe to Tutanota. I don't need it. I don't need to be paying for it, but I like it so much that I just keep it around.
Yeah,
because I might need it for like an email for a client or something, like a dedicated service email.
I have friends that use Proton Mail on the paid accounts, and they really like those. They say they work really well. With the paid accounts, you get a little bit more options, more space, and they actually have like a full calendar suite integration. So.
Yeah. And Proton Mail is a little more full featured for sure. And they've also got the VPN, which is actually, from what I understand, a trusted VPN, Proton VPN, from what I've looked, from what I've seen. Controversy aside with Louis Rossman and Graphene OS developer, Techlore has great stuff. Sometimes he's not always on point, but I think overall he's a great resource, and he's put a lot of work into the privacy and security.
And also, if you really want to know a lot about VPNs, they do a lot of regular testing of them. So you can go check them out.
But Zoho Mail is what I use. It's not open source, but that is my business mail. That's my
And
go-to.
is that one like privacy focused?
They are. Zoho is privacy folk. They are not open source, and I feel like they ought to be open source with the way that they handle data and everything. You would think that they would be, but they're not. They're not open
Mm-hmm.
source. Sadly enough, but
Yeah.
they're rock solid. It's outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had an email service that I like more than Zoho. I've had ones like that I like as good, like Proton or Tutanota, but I've never had a better email experience and calendar experience than I do with Zoho,
Mm-hmm.
along with CRM and anything else. I just recently switched to Zoho Days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ivan, what are you using for email?
I happen to use Proton Mail, and
Okay.
I actually for the past 3 or so years, I have a package deal with Proton, so I've got the email and the VPN
Mm-hmm.
together, and I pay like 45% of whatever the total is. It was one of those Christmas deals a few years back,
Yep.
and I actually happen to own my own domain, so I've got a custom domain set up on it. So I've got my Thunderbird all set up on that, and last year they upgraded everybody that had just the ordinary plus to have, let's say, what was at the time the business accounts. And because they upgraded everything, and they're like, hey, we're going to upgrade all of this. Well, yeah, we're going to have this cost load more for this or that, but why don't we give everybody on the lower ends everything that would have been, those costs? Let's just give them that for free, and going forward, and as long as you keep your account open and everything like that, you get those rates until you die.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so I've been really happy with them, and I'm just keep going on it. And the VPN, just I'm on of course, the Linux client. They just upgraded that. All of their funky little graphics have gone by the wayside, but I don't think that's important at all. It's all about the functionality,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
what they seem to have been focused on, and it seems to have like improved like dramatically,
Oh, that's
and
good.
it's doing really good.
And Salbu, you host your own email, I believe, through
Yeah.
a separate VM, isolated, right?
Yeah. So in order for me to read email, I have to be at home. I can remote in via SSH and read email, but I can't send email via SSH because I always use the Kmail in a virtual machine,
Yep.
which is only used to do email. It's an older system, and the browser doesn't support a modern TLS encryption, so it can't connect to anything. And I have configured it to always sign my outgoing emails using my GNU PGP key, and I can't do that in the terminal, or rather, I have chosen not to configure this in the terminal on the system that I log into.
Okay. Next up is Google Chrome alternatives. Of course, you definitely want to not use Google Chrome. This is, of course, the web browser. One of the big problems is about 3 or 4 years ago, they pushed out a change that if you logged into any Google service, it automatically logged you into Google Chrome as well. And the reason they want you logged into Google Chrome is because if you're logged in there, the trackers can be stored a lot more efficiently. Rather than just having a couple bytes of data for cookies, now they have, unlimited storage for all forms of tracking and mechanisms to keep track of where people are going and what they're doing. You can track that a lot better if you're logged into the browser than if you're not. Of course, this is why Microsoft chose the Chromium base to create the new Edge as well. And so there are certainly some serious issues with Google Chrome. Now, this one I think is one of their more unhinged group. Firefox browser, I do use Firefox browser because of how customizable it is, even though I think that the company behind it is becoming atrocious and crazy. I still do think for a good general browser, I think it's one of the best because you can harden it and things like that. They give us the DuckDuckGo browser, which again is that's not available on Linux. I think it's only Windows and Mac at this point in time. They have Brave, which is good. They have the Tor browser. So that's good. Not necessarily for everybody. Ungoogled Chromium is good, and they have Bromite for Android. Of course, missing is LibreWolf, which is Dan's favorite. Dan can't be here today, but for Dan's favorite, it has LibreWolf. We also have Mullvad. There's a new browser that I have not seen anything about. Some people are saying it's one of the best. Is it Iradium? Is that the name of the new one? I do want to look at it soon. I just haven't had a chance. And then for, let's see, Mullvad browser is another good one that has jumped on the scene. So there are a ton more options than the few that they give us here. So what are you guys using? Ivan, we'll start with you, I guess.
I use
Yeah,
the
I was just about to jump in. Yeah, for my main one, I happen to use Firefox, and I've used it for years. I've got it all set up the way that I like it. They got this in this called temporary containers. Even granted, they're not containers, but they separate the tabs out.
Yep.
And so I can also set up sites to open in a specific tab/container every single time to keep it separated from everything else, so nothing can talk back and forth. Yep. I do have Vivaldi for the occasional use. You got LibreWolf, Tor, and I think one other, no Chrome. I had Chromium for a long time, but I don't use Chromium anymore because I just don't see the need for it. Because everything else I have does everything that does my web browsing. So I even on occasion will utilize the web one called web in Linux Mint. I think that's actually Epiphany, which I use on occasion. I used to use it a lot when I had my Raspberry Pis. When I was doing the Minecraft servers, I would use that browser specifically for those servers because everything was internal. So I could just have 3 or 4 tabs up, bang, 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 and do my thing.
The Thorium browser was a new one. Wade just said, thank you.
Yeah, and those are the ones I have.
Good. Mark? You're muted.
I've used the Mole Rat. It's the easiest and the best.
All right.
And I plead the fifth otherwise.
Plead the fifth otherwise. Uh-oh. Stop using Chrome. All right, Salvo, what do you got?
My main browser is Firefox, and I counted a week or so ago. I have 35 plugins installed on it in order to change various features of various websites, blocking various things and so on. And I also have a Chromium installed, which is only used for video conferencing, such as this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm using, I use Firefox, usually is the default. I'll use Brave for my logged into the 2Bs. I have a Chromium for some other things, LibreWolf floating around. I don't actually have the Tor browser bundle installed on any of my systems because if I'm going to use Tor, I'm either going to use my Cube's laptop or a Tails laptop, just because those will do a lot better job of protecting possible DNS leakages, which is possible through the Tor bundle. But overall, it's not a horrible option. But I just use I believe a wide variety. It's way better to have multiple browsers for different purposes on your system than just having one. Because if you just have the one, that opens you up to a lot more leakages and other issues.
And also sometimes if there is a website or because I am a moderator on many IRC channels, and sometimes I have to people are posting links to various things. Usually it's news articles or funny pictures of somewhere. But every once in a while there is something which looks funny, or there is some fishy about, so I have to check it out.
Yep.
For those, I often use links or links in the terminal, whichever is installed on. I usually have both to see what kind of site this is without opening a can of worms if my browser is vulnerable to something.
Yep. There you go. Next one is Authenticator apps. So we have Authy, FreeOTP, and AndOTP. So AndOTP is going to be a free one on Android devices. FreeOTP is a open source replacement for Google Authenticator on iOS and Android devices. Of course, we have Authy. I think that's the big main competitor to it. If I'm forced to use something like that, KeePassXC actually can do this as well. And there are actually a few other Flatpak authenticator tools for the Linux desktop that you can use for these as well. So those are the things that I use. I don't like everything here as Android and iOS. I log into absolutely nothing on a phone. And I verify absolutely nothing with a phone. So I can't really speak to anything about any of these. I use my good old YubiKey for any of these types of things. And so I can't speak to any of these. Can any of you guys speak to any of these things? I know Salvi's all over that smartphone, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have this smartphone here. It's as dumb as it can get. But on the desktop, I use KeePassXC for two-factor authentication a few times that I need it. There are in Norwegian sites, like official government sites, they have usually they have SMS codes sent to my phone, which you can't escape. Or
how amazingly secure of them.
Yeah, there are some like my ISP. When I log in to do something, they send my code in a one-time code in a text message. But on the governmental websites such as tax submission and so on, health data and so on, you have a dongle that they ship out, which is part of the banking ID, which is specific to Norway. Which is there's a few ways that you can log into that. One of is where the private key is on a device in your possession. In my case, the private key is on the server of the main server of the entity running the thing, and I have to trust that they don't that they only use it when I tell them to use it. And so the KeePassXC is the one that I use, and I've only configured one site to use it, I think. And I think that is, and then I don't remember which one it is.
Yeah. Ivan, what do you use? Anything?
I've been trying to get that all set up. Actually, recently I was able to go through my entire password list on KeePassXC, because that's what I use, and because then I learned, it happened to have 2FA ability in there. So I went through and set it up on everything that I could. For everything that I couldn't, it was because the site doesn't support 2FA, or not to the extent I would like. But I do also happen to have a YubiKey. I've actually got a Nano. It's a little tiny one. And I've got a USB hub here, right next to the computer, and that's where it lives. It's slipped in. It's a switchable hub, so I turn it on when I need to use it, and I shut it off when I don't, and it just sits there. Boom. So it's like, you say you should have a spare, stuff like that. I'm totally in agreement with that, stuff like that. But I look at my particular case, and I'm going like, that thing's not leaving that spot. I don't think I need a second one. But
you might need a second in case it gets damaged or something like that.
That's true, yeah.
Stuff doesn't last forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I saw people talking about Solo Key over on the Matrix channel and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there's some new ones out there. YubiKey was the
Yeah.
old original, and that's the one I have.
Yeah.
Hey, after several years, they're still working for me, so there you go.
Yeah, and I like them very much, and they work very well. They're nice and simple, and but as far as the actual size of the key itself goes, it's like, yeah, having it to be like an inch and a half long, all right, great, whatever. But for me, in such a small space, literally right here, it is such a tight area that something like that is like, me walking around with a comb sticking out of my beard,
Yeah,
out here.
There's
And
always that option.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, I'd love the idea of a solo key, but they don't have a nano, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'd say the only thing that's not great about them is their cost essentially. This thing with this nano, even then being the size that it is $50, and I'm like,
Yep.
Well, I think they would get a lot more buyers or folks buying them if they brought that down almost as much as, let's say, like half, $20-25.
Yeah, and it's not like they're super complicated to make.
Right.
It's which is problematic, which is yet another reason why privacy is a luxury of the rich, which is problematic, or at least, I mean, it has a tendency to be, or of those who seek out the knowledge, I guess. But, those really should be cheaper because it is a fundamental thing for security, and they're not overly complicated to make. They should be a lot cheaper. In fact, I bought mine before they were big and trendy, and they were super cheap. I don't remember paying more than $20 for mine.
Yeah, and they're easy to use too, I've found.
Yeah. Mark, what are you using? Anything?
I'm going to be switching to security keys hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay, so you're pleading the fifth for now, right?
No. It's legal to do 2FA for now. Surely. I use Zoho One-Off for all things Zoho, and then mainly I use Duo, which again is not open source. It's a pretty substantial company. I think Cisco systems are on Duo, or maybe they bought them out. I'm not real sure, but I know the guy. Well, know of the guy. I've spoke to him in email several times. The CEO of the former CEO of Duo was Raphael Monton or something like that, and he's the CEO for Adea Security now, and so Duo is excellent. It's just not open source. It's fantastic for business, but I'd say the One-Off is pretty good.
So the next category is Google Drive alternatives. I'll also throw Dropbox in here because that's a popular, similar one. My absolutely go-to is Nextcloud. The downside, of course, is you either need to, it's a little bit more costly if you can find a place to buy an instance, or you need to self-host it. I self-host mine without a problem. I've been using that for, 6 or so years now. Long time I've been using Nextcloud, and it works really well. And it can do way, way, way more than TechSpot realizes. In fact, of most of the things we're talking about here that are related to utilizing data in your business, Nextcloud will do, with the sole exception of email. It doesn't have any way to manage an email server, an email relay, although there is a web-based email client in it. They give us Tresorit, Sync.com, Mega, NordBlocker. I'd actually avoid that. Anything from Nord, I'd probably avoid. They're just becoming too big. I think I still have a Nord affiliate, though, don't I? Yeah, okay. Well, maybe use my Nord affiliate, tlm.li/Nord. But I was actually getting Nord mixed up with another company. I was getting them mixed up with, in my head. Which one? Norton. That's what I was getting that mixed up with.
Man.
I'm sorry. So Nord is okay. Nord is okay. I was getting it mixed up with Norton in my head for some reason. My apologies, folks. But my absolute go-to on this one is Nextcloud. which you can run entirely. I mean, this will replace pretty much everything Office or, Office Online or Google Docs and things like that can do. Let me see how many more we have here because, there's a lot more. I don't think we're going to get through the list. I think I want to do a cutoff in like 5 or so minutes. So what? Let's do speed round on this one. Google Drive alternatives. Anybody have Google Drive alternatives?
I help maintain Nextcloud server, which a friend of mine is hosting, making sure that it's secure and so on. And that's as far as I use it.
Yeah.
I don't use it myself.
And if you use like my DigitalOcean affiliate, tlm.li/DOH, if you use my DigitalOcean affiliate, then there is in the marketplace, and there's what is called the Nextcloud AIO or all-in-one. That configures everything you need for Nextcloud, the Office Calibora server, so the ability to do Google Documents type things using LibreOffice as a backend. It configures the Talk application, which will replace Teams. It really replaces everything. And I think it's like about, in fact, it's one of the services that I sell in web design stuff. It's $120 a month. Now, seems steep, but that can support easily up to 10 or 15 employees on a business instance. So actually, if you're using that many people, it actually becomes a little bit cheaper than Google. But for the privacy focus, that's absolutely worth it if you have a small business and you're looking for a good privacy option. That all is done with a Docker instance that's constantly updating itself, staying abreast of everything, and verifying itself on a regular basis. All that you can do on the DigitalOcean marketplace. So those are options. Anything else, Ivan? Do you have anything quick or not?
Yeah, just really quick. I mean,
Sure.
I do have. I've got 3 disroot accounts. One for myself, one for the home, and one for my YouTube channel. And each one of them has Nextcloud. For some online data storage and stuff like that. But I don't keep anything sensitive out there on it, and it's just like very insensitive stuff. I mean, we're talking like some avatars, some background pictures, that kind of thing, and that's pretty much it. Outside of that, I've just got my personal drives here that connect directly to the unit, and that's it. And I've got the 4, 8, 12, and over 12 terabytes of data or data capability, and because I don't need anything else outside of that. Online, I'm against it.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Mark, quick.
Yeah, I've on these just on the list real quick. I've used Treasure. It's really good. It's also really expensive, but it's hard to beat Mega on this list. I don't know how open source Mega still is. I'm not real sure. I've not used it in a while, but it's fantastic. I currently use Zoho Work Drive that comes in my Zoho Office Productivity Suite, and I've just contact me for anything Zoho.
There you go. So, Google Calendar, again, Nextcloud. That's what I use, and that's not on their list. I have used Nextcloud to sync all of my calendars for years. What's that?
Nextcloud is on the list. I don't know the other one.
No, Nextcloud is not on the list for calendar.
Google Drive alternatives?
No, calendar. We're on calendars. Lightning Calendar, eTar, MailFence, Colab Now, Postereo, Mailbox.org, Tutanoa, and Proton Mail. Nextcloud. Nextcloud, dude, set up a Nextcloud instance. It will take care of your drive. It will take care of your documents, your collaboration, your calendars, your contacts, all that kind of stuff. Nextcloud infrastructure.
And if you don't want to, for some reason, to pay for an external hosted server because of money issues, or because you are the kind of person who don't trust any external parties with your data, run a NAS network attached storage server locally, which most of them can install a Nextcloud and be configured to use.
I'm actually planning a video to do that, build a local instance, particularly for like phone syncing and backing up your phone to that. So then, you go out, live your life during the day. When you come back at night, boom, your phone automatically syncs. So you only have, you only miss 1 day worth of stuff if you drop your phone in the toilet at the end of the day,
Yeah, because you need your most recent files down to the hour if you're self-employed. Anything that you recently worked on.
Yeah, and that's really where Nextcloud can be good. And of course, you can also run your Nextcloud locally, run a VPN locally, turn on that VPN when you leave the office and still access it. There's some meta stuff. So there's some options you can do as well. Anything else on calendar alternatives?
I don't use any external calendars. I use the built-in calendar in my email application, and I see no reason to change it.
There you go. Yep. Google Doc alternatives. Once again, they're like LibreOffice offline.
Yeah.
No, only Nextcloud, Calibora server, and you can run LibreOffice or you can run only Office from the cloud on Nextcloud. You can't run them both. You can choose one or the other. But when you set up that Nextcloud all-in-one I was talking about, it sets up LibreOffice by default. We have other options here: CryptPad, EtherPad, MailFence, Documents. Hey, there you go, Mark. Zoho Docs.
Nope, I don't actually use Zoho Docs. I
the
use
one Zoho product on the list.
The one product that I don't use Zoho is LibreOffice. I use LibreOffice, and I swear by it. I will give them my next born child. No.
There you go. We have only Office.
Support them, paying them every month. They're worth
Crypty, LibreOffice. Apache only Office should not be on this list. It has not been updated for years. So it's one of the sad things. Like some of these open source projects that should have died haven't. They're still creeping along as zombies.
Creeping around.
But there are good alternatives. And like I said, though, you can use LibreOffice online. I know, I've done it for a long time. I don't do it actively because my current Nextcloud, we don't have the servers set up for that. It was costing me like $5 a month extra for the server in that instance, and it's just not something I needed, so I just let that go.
Oh, but I don't know if Notebook would be included. I feel like it might. Let me look. I use Zoho Notebooks, so there's that.
This says alternatives can be. Yeah, I don't know. That might be more like the notes and.
That's kind of That's more along the lines of standard notes. It's in there, Zoho Notebook.
There's Google Photo alternatives. Nextcloud. Yeah. Although Nextcloud is more of like personal storage photos. I'm not sure if there's much in the way of sharing options, although I think it might. I don't even know the extent of what Google Photos can do, though, because I am an ignoramus on that kind of level. So I don't know.
LibreOffice is just so good.
Yeah. Last one we'll cover. We'll stop on this one because, YouTube alternatives. We have PeerTube, DTube, BitChute. So when you start getting those disable your ad blocker pop-ups, you can consider some of these. Of course, we have a BitChute channel. We have a Rumble channel. The other major one that's missing from this is Odyssey. We have an Odyssey channel. In fact, that is, if I'm not mistaken, I think Odyssey is my second largest channel. My Rumble channel, we are at just under 2,000. My Odyssey channel, I think we're close to 10,000 on Odyssey. We are. Oh, come on, guys. We only need 24 more of you to subscribe on Odyssey. We have 9,976 followers on Odyssey.
Let's do it, people.
Yeah, get with it, guys. Get with it. Vimeo is not really a YouTube alternative. That shouldn't be on the list. Once again, text publishing. Yeah, Vimeo is not the place where you go to browse for videos and discover new content. It is good if you are a business. You're looking to host a small amount of professional videos that you do not want played off of your platform. You don't want them shared or things like that. Vimeo is an excellent resource. Hold on.
Like
too many people talking at once. Hold on. Salbu, go ahead.
Yeah, so there is a few
Sorry.
churches who use Vimeo as their video storage.
Mhm.
Some of them link directly to the Vimeo channels, and
Yep.
others use on iframe and embed their videos. But yeah,
Yeah, the big problem is you do have to host. You do have to pay for hosting. You only get like a very, very small amount of videos for free. Mark, go ahead and wrap up what you're saying.
Rumble and Odyssey mainly, and then
Yep.
I've used BitChute in the past, but and I agree with Tom on Vimeo. It's more for like an enterprise or well-established businesses.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not anything that the average user would be using, so I'm not really sure why it's on the list.
Yep.
But
And Ivan, when is your channel coming to Odyssey again?
BitChute is very broken. Last time I used it, so I haven't used it.
BitChute is more or less being used as an archival place by about everybody, including me. I mean, I do upload the band news over there, so we do get manual updates of the band news over there. But for the most part, I think most people have just set BitChute as a archive to their YouTube channel. And that's about it. You know.
by the way, when I first noticed DTube as the alternative, what immediately popped into my head was I didn't know that DistroTube had his own video
Yeah,
platform.
man, come on, get with it, right?
Do maps. Do one last one, because I think the chat is really going to appreciate the maps. I think there's some chat that could like to do that.
Yeah, there's analytics alternatives as well, but let's look at maps. Okay, so
analytics are not anything.
Google Maps alternatives. Full disclosure, hey, this is the one Google product that I still use. Obviously, I don't use it logged in. I don't use it on a phone. But when I'm planning my routes as a van dweller, a vehicle dweller, nothing beats Google Maps to figure out where to go and when to go. It's just unparalleled. I love the concept of OpenStreetMaps. Don't ever try and search for an address there. You ain't going to find it. OpenStreetMaps, though, is way better than Google Maps in that it has offline trails. OSM and is on my phone, and I have downloaded maps to most of the states that has all of the offline trails. You're in a national park. Somebody has put some cairn up where they shouldn't have. You can turn on that location, figure out exactly where you are, and you will actually have all of the trails for all the national parks. And all the trails for like all the trails for city parks. Every trail in the world, I'm pretty sure, is on OpenStreetMaps. They just can't get you to address A to address B. Maps on F-Droid. Of course, OSM and is what I use for that. There's Map Hub. Here we go. And what are your other thoughts on that, Mark?
Go ahead.
I was giving it to you.
Maps,
okay, go ahead, Sully.
Yeah, so for maps, I use an actual GPS device, which I populate with maps from OpenStreetMaps. I don't use any online mapping service other than on my browser locally at home. So when I need to go somewhere and I don't know the address, I would open OpenStreetMap or Google Maps or a local Norwegian mapping service, which also have the listed phone numbers of the residents in the various addresses. And by looking at the map, I usually know how to get there from here. Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for telling people never use your cell phone to navigate on the road. You're feeding big data. You're giving your location to the big guys. It's way better to get yourself a card GPS. That's what they're designed for. And they generally are going to work a lot better. They work without cell signal. And they'll have all those maps offline. That's what I'd recommend. Of course, around my van, my GPS though does have a nickname. It is called Captain Retard. because it takes the worst possible routes to get you everywhere. So I have to vet the routes and sometimes override it. But hey, at least it knows. It knows where I'm going. It just can't figure out how to get there necessarily in a way that makes common sense. So there you go.
For those who don't have anything but a cell phone in order to use digital maps, according to the list here, there is an F-Droid software called Maps, which apparently you download OpenStreetMap data and then you use it fully offline.
Yeah, OSM and does the same thing.
Yeah.
I can use navigation on OSM and if I wanted to. Just not inclined to use a cell phone. And OSM and you can allow it to go to the internet for mapping stuff, but I never do that. I have that disabled. I just download the maps for the states that I'm in.
Yeah.
Which consequently that means most of the lower 48 is already downloaded. I occasionally I will delete a big map if space is getting low, but there's that. All right, so there are a lot more there. You can see this article goes on and on. I'll go ahead and drop this article in the comments.
One thing about there's alternatives to Google Photos. The one that I use everything locally, and I have a few photos on my website. You need to know the URL to get there, but there is a command line utility, egal, iCal, but with a G, and it generates HTML files with miniature images on the first page, and it can spawn into multiple pages if you so desire. And it will populate just by putting photos or pictures in a folder, and then run egal on egal to on that in that folder. It will generate the HTML, everything valid HTML5, and I think it also now, because I am the upstream for this project, and it also generates for videos for a few formats.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up the main content there. We'll do just a little bit of comments here, and then we'll jump offline and do the offline hangout. All right, let's see. Get past all the hello everybody's. Poor kitty. I'm not that fat. What? The kitty's getting fat, man. I'm the only one who dual boots 2 Linux OSs. No, my laptop has Linux, Mint, and Cubes. Beat that.
There you go.
DuckDuckGo and start page. Still use Google from time to time. Looking up a local business. There you go. Be nice if I'm looking for a Linux bug. I'd get results from last couple of years instead of a decade ago by default. Yeah, that's why I like start page, because there's a filter at the top that you can say only show me results from the last week, the last month, or the last year. I do agree that is a problem. I would configure CRX for privacy, but I don't have much time for that. Yeah, and I played around with a self-hosted one, but it's like I'm not paying $5 a month to self-host a search engine. Brave Search. Gooch uses Brave Search. Never knew that Brave had a search engine. Yes, it is search.brave.com. It's not that new. Yeah, the full release came out a couple years ago, I think. CCJ 1998 still has a Hotmail account. Cat, why do you still have a Hotmail account? I don't know. My cat's over here like, I got Hotmail. What do you want? Let's see. Start using the Brave browser today. There you go. If you know how to search, you can get good results with any search engine. No, I disagree. I'm really good at searching. There are times you just cannot get what you want on some of these search engines. Proton email for important stuff. Gmail for work and throwaway accounts, and a couple old Yahoos for backups and throwaways. Turkey Go browser on the Android has via the search widget. There you go. There's the Thorium browser. Can't stand Samsung's bloatware on Android. I like it stock or near stock as possible. Yeah. Jewel can't stand the iPhones. What's for dinner? For me, probably grilled cheese because I have bread I need to use. And I have cheese and I have ham. Grilled ham and cheese. Oh, even better. I hate when college websites impose password amount limitations. Yes, have a secure password. 8 characters limit. What?
I miss Pizza Loving Nerd and Quint and all them that used to come on. They don't come on no more.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Quint. Pizza's still around. He's just
I remember speaking of the password and the password length. I remember. I'm not going to mention the name because, but there is a prominent financial logging site, which 20 years ago they had a hard limit of how long the password could be, and if you had a longer password, it would just cut off at the maximum length, and it would ignore the rest of the password, and it worked. I think it still works that way.
Fairly insecure.
Yeah, and it also doesn't distinguish between lower and high cases of letters.
That's even worse.
Really secure.
Gray J now supports Odyssey. All right. 24 more followers needed to the alt account. That's right. Hope Odyssey survives. It's glitchy at times. Use the most with Rumble as the backup. Yeah. I need to connect Rumble to the K word. I really need to do that. I also really need to get a new mouse. This thing keeps on rolling up and down and up and down. It's driving me crazy. Make me dizzy. Feel like I'm not drinking coffee. Can't use cubes if you got secure boot. I'm not sure you really need it. Let's see. And over on Rumble, 19 watching.
TVM off. You don't have to. Does Windows make you have it now? Have secure boot on?
I don't think so. Yeah, I haven't checked if Cubes supports secure boot right now or not. I just can't remember. Tice Tech gave good reviews for Thorium. Use GPS in the Chevy pickup. Oh, do not use the GPS in your car. No, get a separate car GPS. Never use the car GPS. The number of cases I'll occasionally watch some of the crime films. The amount of, if you watch some of the more modern ones, nearly all of them are getting warrants to pull black boxes out of cars to track down people, which is like, I mean, now granted they can do that whether or not you use the GPS, but using the GPS in the car that's built into the car is way, way more privacy violating than using a handheld one.
Yeah, and if you do use it, don't configure a specific address as your home.
Yeah. I used to have my car GPS used to have home, and then I deleted it. Now when I push home, it says, "Where is your home?" Like,
just a list of text directions is what if we're going anywhere, I think Mom and me together do the best with just text.
CCJ 1998 says Windows 11 does require secure boot. Can anybody else confirm that? Lazy Affair also says the same thing.
I just downloaded Waze. I don't like the while you're driving. I wouldn't use that, but might use something else.
I remember an article many years ago about when car GPSs started to come out, and I don't remember the brand of the car, but you couldn't use the GPS unless you configured a home address. And this one user was really annoyed by this, and he really didn't want to put in his own home address. So he put in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., which is the address of the White House.
There you go. There you go. All right, we're going to wrap this one up here. So tomorrow, weekly news roundup, of course, starting right about now. Tomorrow, so we'll do the weekly news roundup. We should have a video on Saturday. Now, I'm visiting people right now, and so I think what we're going to do is probably next week I may not do as many videos, but I don't know yet. It just kind of all depends on what we got going on. If nothing else, we'll at least do the weekly news roundup next week, probably the supporter stream, but we'll see. I have no idea. But tomorrow we are doing weekly news roundup, so see you there for that tomorrow right now, this time tomorrow, 8 Eastern time. With that, thank you for watching, and if you are a supporter, want to jump on to the after party, you can jump on to that now, and links for the chat are in the supporter networks.